Hi, Arcfieldweather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday morning, July 25th. A lot to talk about this morning. We have a hot stretch of weather coming to the Mid-Atlantic region, the Northeast U.S. It'll be most intense on Thursday and Friday. They may very well turn out to be the hottest 2 days of the year in many parts of the northeastern quadrant of the nation. Let's say Philly, New York City, Boston. Temperatures could go well up into the 90s on both those days, Thursday and Friday. It remains hot into the day on Saturday. Then a strong cool front looks like it'll push through from northwest to southeast, probably accompanied by some heavy showers and strong thunderstorms, and much more comfortable air moves back into the mid-Atlantic, the northeast U.S. for Sunday and Monday. Meanwhile, today there is certainly another threat for some heavy showers and strong to severe thunderstorms in the Mid-Atlantic region. Let's start off by looking at the latest radar loop from the College of DuPage weather website. Here we have kind of an interesting feature, and we'll see in a moment. This is really associated with a vorticity maximum. Now, we've talked about vorticity kind of being areas in the atmosphere where there's a spin in the atmosphere, and that leads to upward motion down at the surface level. So those are areas that meteorologists tend to focus in on, because that's where clouds and precipitation can result. And here we have a vorticity maxima right here, and notice the rotation in this radar echo field right here. This is looking like a pretty nasty system. If you're in the path of this, let's say, State College over the next couple of hours, be on the lookout for some damaging wind gusts, perhaps some hail. This again is associated with that vorticity maxima, and there will be an expansion, a widening of the shower and thunderstorm activity over the next few hours. And certainly the I-95 corridor region from D.C. to Philly to New York City can be hit by some heavy showers and strong to severe thunderstorms later today into early tonight. Now let's take a look at NOAA's Storm Prediction Center for today. This is the Tuesday forecast map of severe weather probability. And indeed, they have the areas in the Mid-Atlantic region along the I-95 corridor in some kind of a risk for some severe weather today. Damaging wind gusts are a possibility, hail, and certainly heavy downpours are on the table for later today into tonight, pretty much from D.C. to Philly to New York City, all the way up to Boston and up the coastline to the eastern part of Maine. And we'll take a look at the vorticity in a moment or two, but just wanted to move forward here a couple of days with their forecast map. This is tomorrow on Wednesday. Enhanced risk over the upper part of the Ohio Valley, the eastern Great Lakes, and then that shifts into the Mid-Atlantic, Northeast U.S. on Thursday. And Thursday will be one of the two most intense hot days, most intense heat in the Mid-Atlantic region and the Northeast U.S. on Thursday and Friday. And there's a pretty healthy looking wave of energy that will arrive in the Mid-Atlantic region later in the day on Thursday into Thursday night, and that could result in some strong to severe thunderstorm activity. So not only is today a threat in the Mid-Atlantic region, but looks like later Thursday into Thursday night as well. Well, let's take a look now at the continental U.S. forecast maps. This is using the 0Z run of the Canadian model. What we're starting off here are actual 500 millibar heights. We've had this intense ridge really concentrated over the Four Corners region over the last couple of weeks, with some very hot conditions, let's say from Texas across to California. But the Northeast U.S. has enjoyed some very pleasant weather, as, by the way, has much of the plains over the past couple of months. Very nice summer indeed for certainly the central and the northern plains. But we've had this trough aloft in the southeastern part of Canada, northeastern part of the U.S. has kept temperatures at bay in the Mid-Atlantic, Northeast U.S., certainly seasonal at worst on average since, let's say, the beginning of June. Now, we'll move forward here. This intense high-pressure ridge will tend to expand to the north and east over the next few days, again, allowing for that hot air mass to push to the north and east and producing probably the hottest weather of the year on Thursday and Friday in the Mid-Atlantic region, the northeastern part of the nation. But then relief comes this weekend. Here we go. Notice the expansion into the north and east. Now, this is on Wednesday afternoon. Probably not a very hot day on Wednesday, maybe seasonably hot, let's call it. Places like DC, certainly 90, 91, 92 degrees, maybe near 90 in Philly. Normal high right now in Philly is 88. Normal high in DC is 90. Then it becomes a little bit more intense during the day on Thursday. This is Thursday now, well up in the 90s. It looks like DC, Philadelphia, New York City, as this intense ridge tends to expand to the north and east. And again, that'll last into the day on Friday. Here we are on Friday morning. Virtually the entire country here, other than maybe the northern tier, will be experiencing hot conditions on Friday. So again, Thursday and Friday look to be the most intense heat in the Mid-Atlantic region, the Northeast U.S. Then we'll start to move into the weekend, and notice this starts to backtrack a little bit down in the South Andes. We have a strong cool front at this time dropping into the northeastern part of the nation by late Saturday night. Certainly ushers in a much more comfortable air mass. Here we are on the Sunday afternoon forecast map, probably back to the lower 80s on average for highs in that DC, Philadelphia, New York City corridor, maybe low to mid 80s, and that's slightly below normal for this time of the year. It stays comfortable on Monday as well. Meanwhile, the hot weather gets back to kind of being confined to the Four Corners region, the southwestern part of the nation. At the same time, much more comfortable in the northeast. Now let's take a look at the vorticity field, again using the 0Z run of the Canadian model. And here is that vorticity maxima right here. We sighted on the radar loop. Remember, we saw the rotation with those radar echoes. It's right there associated with that a spin in the atmosphere, and this is the culprit for the threat of heavy showers, strong to severe thunderstorms today in the Mid-Atlantic region. Not necessarily the usual time of late afternoon, evening. It really could form at any time over the next several hours. So again, another impressive shortwave dropping south and east through the Mid-Atlantic region raises that chance for heavy showers and strong to severe thunderstorms today. Meanwhile, out in the southwest, dominated by that intense ridge of high pressure aloft. Now, let's move forward and we'll take a look at what could come tomorrow and then Thursday. Here we are now Wednesday morning, and here's that next area right here. A lot of vorticity, a lot of rotation in the atmosphere. Remember, we saw the enhanced risk of severe weather, upper Ohio Valley, eastern Great Lakes on Wednesday afternoon. That's associated with that particular system. Now, we'll push it a little forward here, and that all moves into right here into the Mid-Atlantic, the Northeast U.S., later Thursday and Thursday night. So even on a day where temperatures could reach 95 degrees or even higher, DC, Philadelphia, New York City, there may very well be a threat for strong to severe thunderstorms later in the day into Thursday night, associated with yet another wave of energy. We're talking about this large scale upper level trough over south central, southeastern part of Canada, and multiple waves of energy been rotating through the base of that trough. And these are another two, one today and this one on Thursday, kind of rotating through the lower part of that trough of low pressure in the upper part of the atmosphere. Now, let's move forward here into the upcoming weekend. And here we are now on Friday night and then Saturday. And here's when another wave of energy associated with that cool front system will be pushing across the Great Lakes towards the northeastern quadrant of the nation. This cool frontal system could very well be accompanied by some heavy showers and strong thunderstorms. By the way, it looks a little bit slower in its timing. It's not set in stone yet, but a little bit slower in its arrival time in the I-95 corridor region, probably now late in the day Saturday or even Saturday evening. That allows for another hot day on Saturday, DC, Philadelphia, New York City, with temperatures likely well up in the 90s, once again just ahead of that cool frontal system. So really hot weather kind of begins tomorrow. Let's call it seasonably hot on Wednesday, most intense on Thursday and especially Friday, still hot on Saturday as well. But then that cool frontal system pushes on through And no doubt, much more comfortable air moves back into the mid-Atlantic Northeast U.S. for Sunday and Monday. Meanwhile, hot weather continues to bake the southwestern area. The tense high pressure ridge that expands to the north and east over the next couple of days tends to pull back, retreat back to kind of its starting point over the Four Corners by the latter part of the upcoming weekend, producing some more intense heat for the southwestern states, let's say from Texas across the Four Corners region all the way to California later in the weekend. They do not get relief anytime too soon in that part of the nation. So a lot going on here. We haven't even talked about the tropics. Looks like there's certainly some signals of some activity near the western part of the Atlantic, maybe the eastern part of the U.S., the first or second week of the month of August. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, this has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.